My name's Taylor Ellwood, and I'm very interested in social media behavior and etiquette. And the reason for that is because I was working with a client, a restaurant actually, and they had a great Facebook page, but they were puzzled as to why they weren't getting people into the restaurant. And what really turned out was that they weren't interacting with the people. They weren't taking the time to follow up. They weren't obeying the social rules. So they had the social media technology down, but they didn't understand that social media is a medium. So what is social media behavior? It recognizes that social media is a social medium with social expectations and values built in. Etiquette is the recognition that certain behaviors are favored over others. And there's some other concepts to consider. Design, how a site is designed to encourage or discourage social interaction. The context of how you establish and follow through on relationship. Actually having relationships, meaningful interactions, and giving a sense of connection. A call for action, what motivates people to contact you or go to your site instead of just following you. And a connection, what does it really mean to connect with a person? How does connection empower or disempower people? And are you a number or are you a person? So if we think about old Twitter was designed rather poorly. Almost nobody really goes to the site and uses it. New Twitter now, it's designed much better. And in fact, design is a key part of social media behavior. The better designed something is, the more likely that people will focus on it and use it. So LinkedIn, for example, started adding share, send a message, and like, as well as comment when it came to status updates, because they realized that they needed to provide people options. Then we have social context. How many of you have gotten a generic invitation on LinkedIn and thought, I don't want to respond? Why? Because most people aren't taking the time to establish context. Why do you want to connect with me? How can I help you? Taking the time to write an introduction that actually tells people why you want to get to know them is going to go a lot further than just being lazy and using the generic invite. And yet too many people just use the generic invitation. Relationships. So here's my client, restaurant. So they started responding to people, and the result of it was that people started coming in more often. They started buying the food. They started going to the events because they felt like they had a relationship. Here's another example, and if you were able to look at the timestamps, you'd see that they'd responded to this one person. A couple days, she responds and says that she's in and excited. Why? Because now she has a relationship with the restaurant. She feels engaged, and we all want engagement. Call for action. At some point, we have to transition out of social media into other forms of media in order to make social media viable. While we can get some things such as, people going to websites to buy products via social media, at the end of the day, people want to know that they are going to be engaged. They want to have some form of interaction that goes beyond just social media. And so it's being able to pay attention to what people need and knowing when to transition out of social media to other media. The other reality is we all want to be more than a number. If you're on LinkedIn and you get added as a connection, chances are you become part of a virtual Rolodex, which means you're just a number. But at a certain point, if you want to be more than a number, then you have to actually focus on connecting with people and recognizing that they are people and that you want to have a connection with them. And this means doing more than just going with the easy options of using generic invites and things like that. Intimacy. You want a relationship, you have to establish intimacy. Alyssa Milano is great at this, and this is true of a lot of celebrities. They know how to create an illusion of intimacy, to make people feel like they know them even when they don't. And that's what people want. They want to feel like they know you. They want to feel like you care. Then you have social media policies and etiquette. This is where you have best practices and discipline. For businesses, they need to have some kind of policies that provide guidelines and best practices for what's considered to be good behavior, provide clear instructions on how to represent the company or business, and provide information on what is considered proprietary or off-topic. Brian Rhodes from Intel is a good person to talk with about that, by the way. Behavior has consequences. Depending on the kind of behavior, there can be ethical consequences, there can be consequences that affect the company. So it's important that people consider, how am I relating to people? How am I connecting? How am I representing these businesses? And taking the time to map the leadership in terms of what kind of behavior you expect and mapping it to the social tools that you're using can really help you use those tools effectively. social media strategy isn't effective if you don't. You want to learn more about behavior? My book, Understanding the Social and Social Media, just came out. You can also contact me at @Terrio or www.imagineyourreality.com. Thank you.